Hello and welcome to this B1 Usability Package e-learning session. My name is Rasmus Ole Jensen and the topic of this session is B1 Time Task, where we'll be looking into how to create tasks for business partners. This session is the first of two on how to create tasks in B1 Time Task, because you can have different connection types. You can either say a task is linked to a business partner or it is linked to a sales owner. So we will be covering this business partner part in this session, and in the next session we'll have on sales holders. So here we are in business 1 with B1 Time Task activated, and we will try to make our first task. So we simply navigate to B1 Time Task and the task. As you can see, there's a lot of different fields in a task that we will now go through. First thing we need to do is give our task a name. This is the way you identify it later on, and make it as descriptive as possible on what you are about to do. For my sample, I will mimic what most SAP partners know as SAP installation. So let's call it an SAP installation. Okay. And as mentioned, this session is about business partners, so we choose our connection type to be business partner. So the first thing we need to choose, of course, is which business partner we're actually working for. And we use Norm Thompson. So now we have defined what is the connection, who is actually owning this task in terms of customer. We can then go on to set our budget hours on how much time do we expect this installation to take. So let's say it's take 20 hours. And here comes our first major choice. We need to choose our billing type. We have three options. You can either have that a task is hourly rated. So if you do 10 hours, it's 10 times what your hourly rate is. You can have it as a fixed price, where you tell this is this amount of money, no matter how many hours you actually use. Or you can make it not billable for internal and not having any in relation to the customer. Let's try the hourly rate first, and we will see that in order to do an hourly rate, we need to choose an item of what the hourly rate is. It's just a simple choosing list. If we take our price, I have this standard consultant hour. If we look at that item, you can see that the regular sales price is $100 US. And of course, all the different special prices and setups will go along into this as well for the different business partners. If we instead chose fixed price, we still need to have an item, and that would be a fixed price item, while we choose our fixed price, so it could be $4,000 US instead. Finally, if we choose not billable, we don't need any items at all, and it's just a non-billable system. But for our test, let's make it an hourly rate. After choosing the billing type, we now have the option to add additional things that we can register on. We have a built-in transportation unit and hours system, where you can say, do I want to actually also have transportation units? In Europe it's mostly kilometers, while in the US it might be miles. So it's called units, so you can decide what that means to you. And you can say, no, my employees should not be able to register transportation units, or yes, they should be able to, and yes, they should be able to, and be able to bill it as well. So if they do 10 kilometers of registration, it should be 10 times this item we have here. So let's find our travel item. In this case it was per 100 miles, so that's your unit. Next up we can do the same for time. So there can be some travel time. It could be, again, that we don't allow our employees to register travel time, or we can actually log it but still not bill it, or else we can bill it. In this case, let's just say they are allowed to do it, but there's no requirement for them to be billed. Next field that we need to focus on is the billing format. The billing format is a special field only for business partners connection type. When we later see the sales order connection type, it will disappear because sales order will always be a summarized system. But we have the option to summarize or specify our work. So let's imagine that we do 10 different things, 10 different registrations on covering these 20 hours. And when we do the invoice later on, we could either have one single line of the 20 hours with all the text we have written about what we actually did summarized, or we could have 10 different lines with every single one giving the specifications out. So this is what it means. Let's try summarized in our case. Moving on to our second column of options for a task, we have our task ID, which is just an auto-generated next number. So we don't need to care about that. And we have a date and an expected billing date. The dates by themselves is just for management. They will not have any impact on when you can actually bill your tasks in terms of a business partner connected system. So it's only for your convenience on when did you actually start planning this and when do you expect to actually bill it. We also have a field for the billed amount. So as we build this task along, it will summarize how much we have actually billed of it. And when our build time goes over our regular time, in this case it will not, but if it was a fixed price and it was 10,000, once we have billed over 10,000, the task will automatically close. Next field is task type, where we can choose between our different projects, and we can choose as we like. It's just for categorization of the task, and it's not mandatory. But let's say this is a small project. More general categorization of we can choose a project, and we can choose a profit center. The next two fields, internal remark and external remark, are options to make some default text whenever people register. So if you already know what they should register with the remarks to the customer and internally, you can put them into the task and it will automatically set that as the default remark, and they can override it if they need to. For now, let's just leave them blank so we can see we can actually write some new remarks. And the final field for the header is the task status. Task status gives us the option to what can actually be happening to the task. We have by default 4 different stages, where the first one is open, ready for billing. So this means as soon as some people register some hours on this task and they approve their hours, it could immediately be shown in the billing wizard. If you for some reason say, I want to decide when it's actually popping up in the wizard, you could still go to open but not ready for billing. You will always see what this means to a task below the task status. So you can say open not ready for billing means that users can register time on this task, but it will not be included in the billing process right now. And it will never be until you actually change to another type. 2 others we have is planned, where you can actually just create your task, but it will not be able to be registered on by any employees, and it will not, of course, be included in the billing process as well. And the final one is when you're done with the task, it will be closed, and you can see all the fields closed down. But let's, for this sake, just keep it open. As soon as we have some data, we are ready to bill. We can finally make a description, and for the final step, we will need to either define if we will have no employees specific related to this, or we want to specifically set this task to be made for a specific employee. Which employees can register time on this task depends on what you set in the employees section. By default, if you don't set anything, it means that everyone in the company will be able to actually log time on this. So you actually only need to set anything if you want only specific people simply logging down to what task they can use. So we just choose our employee and say that in case this employee should have 10 of the hours, which we can see in the allocated field, while this employee needs to have the rest of the 10. So let's add this, and we have created our first task, which we can go back to now. And we are essentially now able to bill on this task, and for that please see the e-learning session on actually registering time, or if you want to see now how you actually create tasks for a sales order, please see the next section. This concludes this session. For training material, please go to service.boyum-it.com/education, or if you want a free demo of the product, go to license.boyum-it.com/b1up. If you want to contact us, you can do it either by our sales email or our support email. Thank you for attending.